Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show, the morning after edition, whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying that one on for size right now. But we've got 3 games to break down across the NBA today. Not that many, which means we can go a little bit more in depth to a few of them here. We did have 2 blowouts, but one that was a lot of fun. So we're going to break down those. And then we've got a little bit of news, including, yeah, that's right, maybe the Simmons siren coming up right after that. So make sure you stick around after our game breakdowns. But Keith, good morning. And what game do you want to start with?
Yeah, let's start with the first one. It was a light night, so we would have loved to go in depth, but two of these games were absolute romps.
Yeah.
They weren't even close. Atlanta blew out Dallas 113 to 87. It was close to the half, and then the Hawks just blew their doors off in the third quarter and raced out to a big lead, and then kind of ran off and hid for Atlanta. Kind of good to see them after taking that big step forward last year come right in against what we think is a quality team. We'll find out over the
Right.
next month or so here in Dallas, but come out and really just handle their business. So with relative ease, Trae Young, 19 points, 14
Oof.
assists, and John Collins, 16 points, 9 rebounds. They were the only two Hawks that played over 30 minutes in this
He
game.
did get a Trae Young foul called for him.
Yep.
So I saw that. That was, and I have some people saying, oh, well, no, see, he didn't really jump back. He jumped more up on this one. I'm like, man, you know what he's trying to do there. But
Yeah.
you know what? It's going to be a little bumpy early going into the season.
Yep.
I was pretty impressed with the Hawks. I thought they looked good. They looked pretty crisp on both ends of the floor. I really like that when you look on paper, you think, man, this Hawks team has a lot of depth. They've got a lot of guys that can do a lot of things. And then you watch the game, and that's what you see play out. You see a lot of players
Yep.
chipping in. I mean, look, every single starter, double-digit scoring, and then Cam Reddish coming off the bench and drops 20. That's a good sign moving forward that it's not all focused on one guy. And that's the exact contrast of the Mavericks, where pretty much if it's not
Yep.
Luka doing stuff, there's nothing. You don't have anything really for the Mavs unless Jalen Brunson occasionally can get some things going. But it's a stark contrast between these two teams and two very young, talented players in Trae Young and Luka Doncic, who are going to be forever connected. But the
Yep.
Hawks, I thought, did what we hoped they would do, and the Mavs looked kind of unfortunately like what we hoped they wouldn't in terms of being completely reliant upon Luka.
Yeah, in the Hawks too played without Gallinari and
Mm-hmm.
Okongwu. Gallo's just dealing with some minor stuff, and then Okongwu is going to be out probably until around the holidays. It sounds like, or maybe even after first of the year. But you're absolutely right. They've got great depth. Clint Capella looked really good. 12 points, 13 rebounds. I mean, all six of his shots. They blocked 9 shots in this game too.
Yes.
DeAndre Hunter just kind of becoming DeAndre Hunter, I think, is the next Mikal Bridges if the Hawks take that step, where it's going to be like, wow, this guy's really good. He's a combo three
Mm-hmm.
four. You can get a lot of stuff out of him. Can kind of shoot. Can kind of do a little bit off the bounce. Really good defender. So we'll see. On the Dallas side, I don't know what that offense was. It was an absolute
It was save
mess.
us Luka.
They, yeah, but it was also like posting up Dorian Finney-Smith
True.
on plays, running shots that were designed to get mid-range jumpers for Porzingis and Hardaway.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd needs to figure this out. I know when he was a head coach before, and he talked a lot about how much he's learned over the last couple of years as an assistant, but he was big on we don't need to shoot a lot of 3 pointers and those kind of things. Well, you
Mm,
have one of the best guys in the league who can create them for himself and others, and they did get up
that's a
43
lot.
3 pointers, but it was because they were taking a lot of them in comeback
Right.
mode and kind of launch and fire, and then there was extended garbage time in this game as well. So yeah, I don't feel this one didn't leave me feeling very good for an opener about Dallas. Again, game one, we're not going to overreact
Exactly.
too much, but I think this is one of those ones where you can kind of look at it and say all the things we were worried about, kind of came to light
Well,
here.
and we hope for a bounce back campaign from Kristaps Porzingis. 4 for 13 shooting is not great. 5 boards, 2 blocks. But here's what really got me: 4 turnovers. If you're Porzingis, you're not a guy who's
Yeah,
really a creator where you would expect him to have high turnover. Like Luka is going to get turnovers because he's creating for
sure.
everybody else. Porzingis is more of
Yep.
a catch and finish type of a guy with the perimeter skills as well. He shouldn't rack up turnovers to that degree, and so that's
No.
that's a concern there for me. I'll tell you what. There's one play though that I really liked, just in terms of the mentality. I liked seeing this. It was Tim Hardaway Jr. drove baseline and went to dunk, and you mentioned all the blocks from the Atlanta Hawks. So Tim Hardaway Jr. drives baseline, looks like he's got an open
I
dunk.
know the one you're
John
talking
Collins
about.
comes flying in, and he's able to stop the dunk. He fouls him, but he comes flying in and stops the dunk, right? And Hardaway Jr., he hits the ground. It wasn't too hard of a foul, but it was. I certainly wouldn't have wanted to
Sure.
absorb it, right? And rather than Tim Hardaway Jr. getting upset or John Collins flexing to the crowd or scowling or anything like that, John Collins picks him up, right? Usually you see the guy's teammates
Yeah.
run over and help him up. No, John Collins picks up Tim Hardaway Jr., slaps him on the butt, says, nice play, and then they go on. And I'm like, that's just a great mentality from the Hawks that, hey, I came over, I made the play, nothing malicious or anything like that. And we know we don't have to act tough or anything like that. We're kicking your butts anyway. So, hey, good try on the dunk attempt there.
Yeah, I think it was probably more of that last one more than anything
Yeah.
of, hey, we're stomping your heads in
Yep.
here. Yeah, I don't have anything else on this one. It was just, good to see the Hawks come
Sure.
out and do their thing and roll over a team that we hope will be better. Moving on to a game. This is where we'll make up ground
Yes.
in the show, Trevor, right here. The Miami
Oh my
Heat beat
goodness.
the Milwaukee Bucks by 42. And this game was never
Nope.
close. The Bucks had, I want to say, it was 5 points maybe in like midway through in the first 8 minutes of the game. When I was watching them, they might have got one more basket before it actually ticked past the 8 minute mark, and then from that point forward, other than casually flipping over during commercials, I did not spend a lot of time on this one.
Yeah.
Reading through the recap, and the Bucks fans, they didn't play Brook Lopez. Drew Holiday also sat out. Lopez had some back stiffness. Holiday had that right heel contusion, so neither thing expected to be a big deal, but that kept both of them out. And just the Bucks looked like they were having a little ring night hangover. They looked good on opening night, but it looked like this one was there. And then I think for Miami, you had a Heat team that is looking to prove, hey, when we beat this team 2 years ago, that wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
fluke. Like they got us last year, but we're still a good team. And they really came out and just handled their business. Kyle Lowry didn't shoot it well, but really did a nice job, I thought, running the team, getting them in stuff. Tyler
Oh,
Hero talked a lot about how he's never played with a point guard that just gets you set
mm-hmm.
up where you need to be. He had a huge game off the bench, 27 points. He's looking for a big bounce back season. Bam did his thing. Jimmy Butler, just all around a good first game for the Miami Heat, because this was their
Yeah, it
opener.
is. It is kind of funny that this is kind of the performance I was expecting out of the Bucks on opening night, because that's typically what happens
Yeah.
on ring night. And no, they came out
Yep.
firing and wanted to prove something against the Nets, and now it hit them. Of course, injuries are a factor there with Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday being out. But you mentioned Tyler Hero blew up on my bench in fantasy, but great game for him. He looked really good in preseason, and so it's nice to see that translate here to a regular season performance. 27 points in 24 minutes is great stuff from him. So solid performance there.
Good rebound and assist numbers too
Yeah,
for Hero.
6 and
He
5.
did a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yep.
really looked good for them. So that's a great sign moving forward. And I'm not I'm not going to worry about the Bucks here. I think this is a combination of the injuries and the ring night thing and all of that, and Miami just being really fired up. They'll move on to the next one
Yeah.
and be just fine.
Yeah, I don't want to overrate how good the Heat
No.
are because of this, and I'm certainly not going to take anything out of Milwaukee. Thank God the last game of the
Ooh,
night saved
fun
us.
one.
It was a good one.
Yes.
Yeah. Stephen Curry came out and hit 9 shots in the first quarter. I'm pretty certain he didn't hit the rim on any of them. I mean, he was just dialed in from the jump. 45 points. He did what he does. He had a bomb late in the game that put them up. It is just he's just special. it was funny. I only saw very little of this, but I saw a couple people say, should he have made the all 75 team? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this guy is one of the best players in the history of the
He's the best
game.
shooter ever, right?
He's just, yeah, easily the best shooter ever when you factor in
Yeah.
volume and accuracy. So, yeah, that's just dumb. Andrew Wiggins chipped in, Draymond Green game. My guy, Jordan Poole, come on, man, let's pick it up. Well, let's get going
4
here.
for
This is two
14.
two rough shooting games in a row and 7
Yeah,
turnovers
what was that?
for Jordan Poole. But yeah, but they did enough against a Clippers team that was pretty shorthanded and didn't have some of their guys. But if I'm the Clippers, despite the loss, I leave this feeling a little more encouraged that get a couple of those guys back who are out, and they're going to be okay.
So Steph went berserk, right? And the Clipper and the Warriors were up big. They were up big. I think at one point
Yep.
it was 20, and we're talking about in the first half. And the Clippers
Yeah.
didn't go away. They battled back and actually, I believe,
Yep.
had the lead at halftime by one.
They had a 1 point
Like,
lead at
like
halftime. Yep.
that's a great sign that you got. It would have been very easy at that point to just go, well, crap. Steph is doing Steph
Yeah.
things. He's going
Yep.
crazy. This,
Warriors home
yeah, this is
opener.
not going to be
Yeah.
our night.
Yep.
And the Clippers, they battled right back. They got some stops, hit some big threes. Paul George started going crazy, especially when he got mad at the referees. He would not stop. He was
Yeah.
going after the refs and would not stop chirping at them.
Yeah, it was a little. I thought he was going to
I
get
thought so too.
tossed.
I thought so too because
Yeah.
there was a point where he's lined up for free throws and he just kept going. Like he had just gotten a tech and he just kept going at the referees. They never threw him out. And he wound up having an incredible performance, 29 points, 10 boards, 6 or 11 boards, 6 assists. So that was impressive from him. The Clippers, they showed fight. And so that's a credit to them and their mentality in a game where it would have been very easy just to say, you know what, tonight's not our night. Let's get the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, when we think about the Clippers, uh, their depth is really really good. It's just some of the guys who played today will play a little bit less. I think they'll slot into more roles that make sense for them to be in and not have to play such a big role. Like for example, Eric Bledsoe played 30 minutes. He played well, 22 points, but I think if he is if you're relying on him to play 30 minutes a night, you're probably going to be that's just not where you want to be if
Mm-hmm.
you're the Clippers. Now, what was very interesting was too Bledsoe played. They kind of used him like Bruce Brown on the Nets last year, where he did a lot of
Yeah.
screening and a lot of stuff, and that's something I think we're going to see more teams work into, where it is play a small guy, but a guy who's big enough. He's enough bulk to set screens, and then is he becomes a role man, he can either finish himself or he's a much better passer than your normal roller is, and you could get some different looks out of that. So that was a fun wrinkle. Ty Lue's a really good
Yes.
coach. He is really really good. I think it's almost he's become underrated because of people think well it was LeBron then and now
Right.
it's Kawhi and PG, but I think he's a really good coach. So yeah, I'm not worried about the Clippers. As you said, they fought back. They had a chance. If Reggie Jackson shoots slightly better than 4 of 19, they probably win
Yeah.
this game, and we're probably having a slightly different conversation this morning. But that'll come. And all around, Marcus Morris, I thought he was disappointing. I thought his defense was kind of rotten in this one. I didn't think he really brought it, and they need that with Kawhi
Yeah.
out. He's got to kind of be that guy. But yeah, all around, it was a really fun one to kind of close out the night. The Warriors slightly slower paced game,
For
just
them.
slightly. But if you look at the box score, 83 shots went up, so that looks a little odd. But 21 turnovers. Like that's crazy. 13 from Curry and Poole combined. And again, Curry's going to turn it over some. They're going to turn it over some. But when they lose games, that's when they get caught. Is because they're throwing the ball all over the
Yeah,
gym.
the Warriors lost the turnover battle. It was 21-7, only 7 turnovers for the Clippers.
7.
You're very
Yeah.
rarely going to see that. In fact, this may end up being the only game that you see this happen in where the turnover discrepancy is that large, where one team does a great job and the other team is terrible, and the team that was terrible actually
Yeah.
won. You're not going to get that unless you shoot 50% from three, and that's basically what the
Yep.
Warriors did in
And
this
that's
one.
what they did. Yeah, because the 3-point shooting was roughly the same as far as number of makes. Free throws were basically the same as far as attempts and makes. So yeah, it was just they turned it over
Yeah.
a ton, and their defense was pretty good for, because I think people still will look at this and say 115 to 113, how good was the defense? Well, they held them to 44%. That's not great, but they got the stops when they needed, especially in the fourth
Yep.
quarter. I thought the Warriors defense really did what it's supposed
And
to do.
once again, the Warriors they did the same thing to the Lakers. Actually, beat them in offensive boards, 10-7 here for the Warriors, and that's a credit to them. And they're not a big team, but a lot of threes, a lot of long bounces, and they're
Yep.
very good at corralling those. So they were able to do that. But I'll tell
Yep.
you what, from just an overall perspective, this game from a basketball viewpoint was a lot of fun. You saw two offenses that ran a lot of
Yeah.
things that you just went, "Ooh, that was a really nice play." Like when Curry really got going,
Hmm.
and then the Clippers had Terrence Mann pick him up essentially 3/4 court. Just said, "Stay glued to him."
Yeah, you
Don't.
have
And
to.
then so
Yep.
what the Warriors they didn't even need to take a timeout or anything like that. They went right into it. They knew
I know.
exactly what they were going to do. They gave the ball to Iguodala,
Yep.
said, "We trust you as a passer," put him up top, had Curry run and set a pin down screen, and then ran a screen the screener action with Bielitsa and popped Curry free. And I thought that was brilliant. It was an absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant play because you're either going to get Curry the space he needs to shoot a three, which is what happened, or both guys are going to go, "Oh no, that's Steph Curry." They're going to go with him, and Bielitsa's getting a layup out of it. It was just a brilliant play
Yep.
call. We saw the Clippers run stuff that was specific for certain players. Luke Kennard setting a screen, slipping, and then getting into the paint and getting a little floater in the lane, which is great for his skill set. It's a shot he can hit. Both teams, I thought, did a really
Yep.
nice job tailoring their offenses to the talent that's on the team.
Yeah, and I mentioned before, but those actions where they used Bledsoe
Yes.
as a screener, like that was good stuff. So yeah, absolutely. The last thing for me, my only thought on this is Steph Curry going to lead the league in rebounding.
Yeah,
What,
right.
what do we
Two
think?
games in a
Another
row
10,
of,
10
of,
more
of 10
rebounds.
rebounds.
Yeah,
He's leading the team in
10,
rebounding at
10,
least.
10 rebounds. Yeah, right. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's
All
going
right,
right
you
now.
ready to jump into some
Let's
news?
do it.
All right, here we
Uh-oh.
go.
Oh.
The Simmons siren.
Oh.
We had to do
Even
it.
in the morning,
We had
the
to do the
Simmons
Simmons
siren.
siren.
Yeah,
Yep. Bright and early Simmons siren.
more news.
Yeah. So the latest on Ben Simmons, he, as we know, suspended for the opener on Wednesday. The team did not have practice on Thursday because they're playing Friday. NBA teams often will not practice games in
Mhm.
between like that. But players come in for treatment. They come in to do individual workouts. Simmons was scheduled to come in and go through an individual workout. He came in, said his back was sore, underwent, it sounds like very minor treatment. I don't know exactly what that
Mhm.
means. And then he left the facility. Uh, After that, we had kind of a source off from either side. It's pretty clear to tell who's
Yep,
reporting for who here in this one, but it was essentially the the end thing is Ben Simmons isn't gonna
he's not
play
playing.
anytime
No.
soon. Um, the Sixers are saying he's not there. Like he's not there. He's just not
Hmm.
playing. There are some from the reporting is Simmons is not mentally ready to play, and that also his back is bothering him, and that he just needs more time to get ready to play. Sounds like the Sixers are kind of calling bull on that and don't necessarily believe that that's the case, and that this is just how he's trying to hold out. But then on top of it, Daryl Morey then did a radio
Oh,
interview where he basically said, I think the exact phrasing was, buckle in, this is going to take a while.
yes.
And then he said, I'll wait all 4 years if I have to. I'm not just going to give this guy away. We have a value for him. We're not going to do this. And that's where it starts to get a little, all right, there's clearly some hyperbole in
Hmm.
there, but this is just, he's not going to play for them for. I continue to believe he'll never play another game for them. But there's not a trade coming in the next few
Well,
days.
this is what this is what we thought was going to happen, right? Okay, Simmons is reporting now. He's there. Might he really play in games? All this, and the pessimists were constantly saying, "Well, just wait. I bet there's going to be some kind of little injury or something that's going to pop up." And here we go, right? Now you've got the two sides, right? You've got the back spasms, which how likely do you think it is that he actually has back spasms right now?
Not
Not very,
very.
right? I mean, hey, it's
I
it's
mean, that right,
possible.
and that's a very hard thing to actually
Right,
prove
exactly.
that you do or don't, because it's not like they can do an X-ray or those kind of things. It's
Exactly.
not generally something that can be seen. So yeah,
That's why, right? And so if you were going to make up an injury to try to get out of playing and get out of being in the game and all those sorts of things, a back spasm would be a really good thing to
yep,
use. Now that maybe he really does have back spasms, right? We can't say for certain, but
sure,
again,
he
this
may.
would be, if you were running that playbook, that's probably the injury that you would go to. So that's where that gets a little bit suspicious. But then they're reporting that he's not mentally prepared to play. What is he mentally prepared to do? He's a basketball player, right? And I understand there's obviously a lot of extenuating circumstances here and everything, but this is just
Sure.
getting crazier and crazier. And then for Daryl Morey to say, "Buckle up, we're still demanding a high price." The guy is sitting out, like, what do you expect him to go on the radio and then teams to go, "Oh, he said he might wait 4 years. Okay, let's up the offer now."
Yeah, now I have to offer
Yeah,
Damian
sorry,
Lillard.
Damian
Yeah,
Lillard. Daryl
yeah,
Morey said he might wait 4 years, so we're going to send
yeah.
you over to the 76ers now.
Nah,
It's not
it's
happening.
yeah. This continues to me to be everybody looks bad
Yes.
here. Simmons looks bad. His group looks bad. Morey and the Sixers look bad. Doc Rivers now. Doc has been bad, I think, from the jump on this. But now I think as we get to this point, you start to look at him and the other players and say, man, like this is just a distraction that exists that you just don't need. And I really start to feel if I was the Sixers, I gotta move on from this just to for I know we're talking about mental health a little bit here, but for the mental health of the entire
Yeah.
organization, like we just got to eliminate this and go forward. And I get it. That doesn't mean you need to give them away. There's been credible reports that they've been offered pretty good
Yeah.
stuff for Ben Simmons. No, but there's as many credible reports that they were holding out for Damian Lillard. Guess what? It's not
Yeah.
happening. Damian Lillard said doesn't want to trade it, and the Trailblazers certainly don't want to
No.
trade him. There's been stuff
Bradley Beal,
they're
same
holding
thing.
out for Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has said, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be here in Washington. Now, you could say, guys say these things, it changes all the time. That's two different situations than normal. This is not a guy saying, no, I want to be here. And then, yeah, a couple months later, you find out he wants traded. These are two guys who have repeatedly said on the record themselves, not through sourcing,
Exactly.
but directly themselves, I don't want to go anywhere. This is where I want to be. And they're also guys that have been there for a decade now. So this is not some guy who's in year 4 in a place or even year 5. These guys are locked in here. So I just, and I'm not saying just take the first deal that presents itself, but go find a workable deal. You do not need to win it. It does not need to be this overwhelming return or anything like that. You just need to get what you can get within reason and move on. That doesn't mean they should take Kevin Love
Right,
back in a
right.
trade and just say, well, we're
Yeah.
done, and wash their hands of it just because that's an easy salary match. That I'm not saying that, but go find a workable trade so everybody can move on. Because the reality is too, just as a basketball fan, I like watching Ben Simmons play basketball. Like he's still,
Hmm.
a good player. Like that's what's now become this thing of like, it sounds weird to say like people are like, but he's not good. He sucks anyway because he won't shoot. But they can't
That's
trade
gone
him
too far.
for nothing. Well, but in those two things don't
No.
connect, right? You can't say a guy sucks because he won't shoot, but you can't trade him for nothing. If he sucks, then you can trade him for nothing, or he doesn't suck, so you need to hold out for more. So it's just this is just a mess, and it's going to continue to be so. My guess is we're going to get more of this, where he kind of half shows up, half doesn't, and then we go with
I
this.
get the emotional response from fans, from especially like from Sixers fans, like they
Sure,
hate Ben Simmons at this point.
yeah,
That's not even
yep,
just a strong word to use. That's how they feel right now towards Ben Simmons. And
100%.
I understand why, but you can't in one hand say he's never worked on his game, he's terrible, and then at the same time say we
Yeah.
demand top dollar for him. We're not getting forced
Yep.
into some low ball trade.
Yep.
You're not going to force the
That's it.
narrative, all this kind of stuff, right? We've heard all these rants. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But it feels like right now, the 76ers, they're just kind of waiting for the next disgruntled star because it's not Lillard. It's not Beal. There's nobody else on the horizon that wants out that is a star level player. If that's the bar they have set, that it's got to be a star, you might be waiting for a while.
Yeah.
And then is that star going to want to be a 76er? That matters,
Yep.
right? I mean, if you have a guy with 1 year left on his contract, and again, I'm not even saying anybody in particular, and they say, I want out, but I don't want to be a 76er, then you just waited for nothing. You just waited all this time for somebody else to hit the market. And right now, there's no obvious player that's going to be on the market. Things happen. There will be somebody at some point. But what's going to happen between now and then? What happens to the Sixers in the standings? What happens to Joel Embiid and his MVP campaign and all these different things? It just doesn't make sense. Find something that works. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it is a deal with the Wolves and you do something around D'Angelo Russell. I would imagine if the Kings had said De'Aaron Fox, it would probably be already done. But maybe there's somebody else out there that's of a slightly lower tier, but overall can still lift up your team in the aggregate. You can get a few pieces back. That's probably the best case scenario for the 76ers, but it doesn't feel like that's what they want.
I think what also is important to note, and Bobby Marks has kind of hammered this home repeatedly, is a lot of guys can't be traded right now
Yes.
because players who signed deals over the summer can't be traded until December 15th. Some can't be traded till January 15th if they re-signed with their current teams. So we've got a good amount of players who can't be traded. So that to me is they're dug in. That's the next window to
That's
look
what they're
for.
looking at.
Now is that December 15th window. That's it's commonly referred to as the early trade window in the NBA because that's when all these guys can be traded, and you're about 2 months out from the trade deadline at that point. So this probably doesn't resolve before then is my guess, and I don't think we see him play in a game before then, and then we'll see kind of where it goes from
In
there.
other words,
Want to do a couple injury updates?
yeah, keep that Simmons siren ready there. That's the bottom line, right? But yes, let's do a couple injury updates. I'll start with my guy Kendrick Nunn. Dealing with an ankle sprain originally. It looked like he was going to maybe make the Lakers opening night game, but then they pushed it back. One sounded like he was going to play against the Suns, and then he said, hey, my knee's bugging me a little bit. And a bone bruise was discovered in his knee now, and so he'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. Man, when it rains, it pours. The Lakers have so many rotation guys that are out at this point.
Especially in the backcourt.
It's nuts, Keith. I sat down yesterday and I tried to do this little experiment. I said, all right, I'm going to try to make a Lakers rotation that has neither two bad shooters or more than two bad shooters on the floor at the same time or two bad defenders on the floor at the same time. It's all but impossible. Like, because of all the guys who are sidelined, are there guys that would be more two-way players? So Kendrick Nunn, unfortunately, he's going to be reevaluated in a few weeks, which puts him sort of on the same timetable as Talen Horton-Tucker. Horton-Tucker's probably about 3 weeks out for being reevaluated from his thumb ligament surgery. So tough blow, again, for the Lakers.
Yeah, and my guess is Avery Bradley's probably going to play a lot. Now he's going to have to because he is one of the few guys who can kind of play two ways, and he also fits because he doesn't need the ball in his hands to do stuff. Right. He's content to spot up and cut and those kind of things. So that's a little worth monitoring there. I don't think we talked about it before, but just to note it, Karis LeVert, it was announced, was going to miss at least the first 4 games for the Pacers. So, and then he'd be reevaluated there. So first 4 games, that's roughly a week and a half, 2 weeks. So we'll see what that looks like. And then the Orlando Magic, Gary Harris on opening night was getting ready to start going through warmups and was a late scratch as he felt hamstring tightness, and he's now out. Already 6 players out with injuries for Orlando, and the season's just getting started. Harris joins Michael Carter-Williams, who is out for a while. Markel Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, who are still recovering from the torn up knees. Those two guys are working their way back. Chumo Kiki is out with hip soreness, and then each one more who is signed as kind of the veteran
Mhm.
guard to help all the young guards on the roster. He's also got a sore knee, so he's out. So it's gonna be kids, and they've only got 10 players available right now. Or is it 10, 11? No, it's 10. Yeah. So 10 players available going into your second game of the season. Like that's yeah, that's rough. They're gonna have to sort through that and figure that out here pretty
Not
soon.
ideal. You've got a few teams now that are sitting there with a number of players sidelined. At least the Magic are more playing for ping pong balls this season, but still
Sure.
not great because you want to have
Just
that.
not where you want to
No, you
be
want to have
to
those guys out
to
there to
start
develop.
the
Even if
year.
you're going to lose, you want them out there to develop, right? And just to kind of get that chemistry and all that. And so it's hard to do that if they're sidelined. So
One interesting thing to note too, they only have filled one of their two-way
mm,
spots. So my guess is now that Harris is going to be out for a while, we're going to see that second two-way spot. Basically, everyone who was waived over the course of the last few days is now all cleared waivers, and that so now you're into more normal free agency period. So my guess is they'll fill that second two-way spot just for if for no other reason, just to have another
right.
healthy body available because being down six guys already that's a bit
Yeah.
much to deal with. Last story. This one we're gonna present it just because it's news
Mm.
and it's
Oh,
newsworthy.
yes.
Ennis Cantor had comments on social media prior to the Celtics opener on Wednesday, where he was commenting on the Free Tibet movement. He addressed his comments to, and I apologize if I say the name wrong. I'm going to do my best, but I think it is Xi Jinping, who is China's leader, and he addressed him as brutal dictator and then went on to talk about human rights issues and across China and how China is essentially trying to eliminate the culture and the people of Tibet. That the result of those comments was Boston's game was pulled from the air by Tencent. Tencent is an ESPN partner who also partners with the NBA that does most of the broadcasting of games in China. That they were pulled from the air. Any recent games that are available on their streaming service, just like it is
Hmm.
here, right? You go on League
Yeah.
Pass, and if you have subscription and pull up old games, they are not available now. Celtics games, as well as all of their upcoming games, are also marked as unavailable. The leading Celtics fan account on Weibo,
Right.
which is essentially
Twitter.
their version of Twitter, also said they will no longer tweet about the team and issued a statement about the dignity of China. I'm paraphrasing, so I apologize, and I don't have it right in front of me. But they will no longer tweet about the team. And that means the Celtics and the 76ers are not having their games aired. In China, the 76ers are because Daryl
Hmm.
Morey works for the 76ers. So we remember 2 years ago, Daryl Morey made his comments about Hong
Right.
Kong, free Hong Kong, which caused a big uproar. I know you know because the Lakers
That's
weren't
they were in the middle
there.
of it.
Yeah, they were right in the middle of it. So now we are in a position where those two teams are not being aired. So that ban was initially on Maury's team with the Rockets in his last year with the Rockets, and then that as he moved to Philadelphia, it was transferred to the last 2 years of Philadelphia. Uh, so just something to keep in mind. Two teams are off the air. It's not the entire league as it briefly was after the Maury firestorm was created. So we'll see where this goes. But I don't expect Ennis Cantor to withdraw his thoughts.
No.
He has been very outspoken about that. He's also regularly outspoken about the Turkish government, which still has an arrest warrant out for him. It's only been in the last couple of years, Cantor has been even allowed to travel to Canada because he is on the Interpol watch list to be arrested if necessary. So it's I think most people are kind of taking a blind eye to that a
Yeah.
little bit and saying, hey, we're not going to cause this. But Enes Kanter does not travel other than to Canada outside of the United States anymore. People ask all the time why he doesn't play for the Turkish national team.
That's
Well,
why.
yeah, he probably will never return to Turkey unless there's a major change in leadership of the country. But just a story to cover because it is related to things. We'll see if there's a financial impact to this after the Morey initial comments a couple years ago. There was a huge worry that if they lost all revenue in China, what that could turn into, because basketball is wildly popular in China. It is extremely popular. It's arguably the most popular. I don't think arguably. I think it is
Yeah.
definitely the most popular U.S. sport in China.
And, I saw people that were suggesting that Cantor didn't play for the Boston Celtics on opening night
Yeah, that's
because
not
of
right.
that or something like that. No, I don't think
No,
that had
had nothing to
that
do with
had anything to
Yeah,
do with
no,
it. But
no, no, absolutely not. It was just a game flow thing. There was no spot to
no.
play him necessarily in that game. So yeah,
So we'll see where that goes. But that tends to be the response. If China gets any criticism, they shutter the doors on whatever that is. And like you said, it was 2 years ago with Daryl Morey, but still not showing
yeah.
this
Well,
every
two
two
seasons
seasons,
ago.
not really 2 calendar
Yeah.
years.
Well, actually, 3 seasons now. What? Well, we're a third
Right.
season or second season removed. So yeah, so we're in a third season since that happened. But yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah, time's a weird thing with the NBA when you start measuring this, because I think the Lakers beat the Heat in the finals
It pretty
yesterday,
much was.
and
Yeah.
then the day after that was the Bucks winning over the Suns. So
Yeah, it's it well, that the year, the gap and everything kind of threw us off, and yeah, that's where we're at now. But anyway, we'll
oh,
uh-oh.
hey, update. I'm not going to sound the siren again, but Shams Charania just
Ooh,
reported Ben Simmons spoke to Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, and entire 76ers team today and accepted everyone needs to take responsibility, including himself. But Simmons informed them all that he's not mentally ready to play yet and needs time.
okay.
So,
That's interesting. Well, I mean, at least there's
I mean, I
communication
guess,
there, right?
yeah, communication at least, but I'm not entirely sure what to make of that
Yeah.
either.
I mean,
So,
that to
yep,
me though, that suggests that he's planning to play at some point, right? If he says I'm not ready to play
sure.
yet, I
I would
need
think.
time. That
Yeah,
sounds like, hey,
yeah.
just give me a little time and then we'll be good. Now again, who hey, it's April. I'm just not mentally ready to play yet, right? We don't
Yeah.
know a timeline here, but I mean, I think that's at least a somewhat positive development if we're hoping to see him play, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So, just programming note, we are not planning to record this type of show over the weekend, but if something major
Yeah.
happens, we'll pop in and probably invariably give some thoughts. Or if there's an absolutely bananas game that we just feel like my kind of loose rule, and I'm throwing this at Trevor live here, is if we exchange probably more than 4 or 5 texts about something,
then
then it's
then it's
probably time
probably
to
time
jump
for a
on the
show.
mics
Yep.
and at least bring a show. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But guys, enjoy the first weekend of games or a couple early afternoon games. I know we've got a decent chunk international viewers and
Mm.
listeners, so good for you guys. I always think about that when those happen, how great that is for them to be able to see it live. So yeah, super excited for our first full weekend of NBA
That's right.
basketball.
It's going to be a good time. Make sure you guys do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. We're truly appreciative of all the support that we've gotten since starting this up. So make sure you do subscribe. Don't forget, we can also check out our podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you do listen to podcasts. Make sure that you also turn on notifications here on the YouTube channel so you get notified as soon as we put out a new video. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and see ya.